It's Mondays with Meghan Gaydos.
Host of Citizen McCain, the daughter of the late, great Senator John McCain. Mondays with Meghan.
Got it in there.
Hello, Meghan. How are you?
Thanks for plugging my show. And I think you say this to every guest on every hour,
Nope.
but I do appreciate it.
No, we do not.
I do.
That's
We don't really like many of our guests. Hey, let's go with the breaking
Oh,
news.
for goodness sakes, we have to, right?
Yeah, let's start in.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I'm going to start with the
There's
president.
a lot happening.
There it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with President Donald Trump. So here's the quote. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. All right. He's left the G7 early. He wants the National Security Council waiting for him. We see military ships are headed to the region. Is something really big about to go down? Meghan, do you have a thought on that?
I have no inside information at all, other than we know that Israel didn't start, their missile attacks on Iran without the go-ahead from the United States and from President Trump. And if you read some of the tea leaves on social media, the alt-right people in the, alt-right base of the Republican Party, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and comedian Dave Smith, although I've never heard him actually say a joke before, are melting down about this, like melting down. And right now, right before I got on with you guys, Trump was going after Tucker Carlson in a very funny insult comic way. And I think it's because of his support of Israel and that he's not backing down. And he kept saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. However you feel about the geopolitics of all of this, I think that he is signaling that he is on the side of Netanyahu and Israel.
I mean, it's no doubt he's on the side.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
that's
not
a question, is it?
But
the question is, how much would we be involved?
Well, I mean, Netanyahu.
I think more involved than Marjorie Taylor Greene is comfortable with.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all thinking the same thing. Are we really getting involved in this? How involved are we? Are we going to send missiles into Tehran? Israel and Netanyahu said, hey, we want to blow up Khomeini. Let's blow him up. And Trump said no. And I think that Trump is thinking, I mean, I'm trying to think what would happen if Israel actually did that. Where do we go from there?
I mean, my concern is Iran has allies just in the same way that Israel does.
Yeah.
And those allies are our enemies in Russia and China and, basically all the bad places, the axis of evil, if you will, on the planet. And that is my concern, is the escalation. Am I on the side of Israel? Always.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Me too.
But I think, like metaphorically and literally, when you open up a grenade, you don't always know where it's going to explode and what's going to happen. And just in my life and on my show, anecdotally, there's a lot of people in my age range that are like older millennials where I've spent more than 2/3 of my life with people I know fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. And there is a real hesitation and a real, I think, skepticism of, any kind of engagement whatsoever. That doesn't mean that, it's neither here nor there. But I do think if he ends up going full force supporting, I don't anticipate like boots on the ground or anything like that. But if we are somehow engaged in another Middle Eastern war, I do think it will start having impact on his base, and not just the fringe Tucker Carlson people, but like more mainstream conservatives as well.
I'm not saying you blew past it, but I do think it's an important point. Russia and China have a vested interest in Iran. They have a vested, not only do they provide them with a lot of the missiles and technology and armament that they are using, but they're running out of friends in the region with some of the changes that have happened, if you will, recently. I don't know if Russia or China are going to use this as an opportunity to poke a finger in the eye of the U.S.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's everyone's existential fear right now. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of anxiety about this. Even just like it's hard to kind of scroll on social media last night before I went to bed. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen it. The images of like missiles coming down in Lebanon and then missiles coming down in Tel Aviv. It's very dystopian. And again, I am not, is like way above my pay grade, like to anticipate what happens next. But I do think that the president has really smart people around him. And I think, right now, I'm just sort of like in a wait and see before I make my last judgment call. But I do think if somehow we were in like a full-fledged international war with Iran, I do think the American public, they're not going to be as supportive as maybe Trump thinks.
And again, there are certain sites, apparently Israeli media is saying that U.S. fighter jets are participating in some way, shape, or form. I mean, this may be the type of war that you could just do from the air. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
That means that we're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Iran was going to blame us anyway, weren't they?
Yeah, but we're in it now. If that is the truth, we have entered the war.
That's coming from Israelis Channel 14
Okay,
is where I'm getting that information.
All right. Meghan McCain is joining us Mondays with Meghan. So over the weekend, well, we'll keep up with the violence. What happened in Minnesota.
Oh,
so they found and arrested the Minnesota man that shot and murdered the Democratic Speaker of the House and a Democratic state senator. Okay, so
and it had a list, by the way, of like
Right.
70 other elected officials, et cetera, all over the state.
So we've seen this before, unfortunately. It seems to be getting worse. We had Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. His home was burned down. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, there were threats to her.
Yeah.
You can talk about locally here, like, former Maricopa County recorder, Stephen Richer, his life was threatened how many times? Same with Hobbs when she was Secretary of State.
Gabby Giffords. I mean,
Years
you know
ago.
what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean, this has been a problem.
I think it's...
Also, just a few days ago, sorry to interrupt
No,
you,
no.
Gaydos, but
Please.
congressional candidate Daniel Hernandez in Tucson, someone shot up
Yes.
his congressional headquarters just a few days ago.
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
is also his house.
horrific.
Yeah, he has his headquarters there. Yeah.
I think I'm disturbed by it all. Don't get me wrong. But the thing that Donald Trump didn't do, he should have done. He was asked today if he had called Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And he said, quote, well, it's a terrible thing. I think he's a terrible governor. I think he's grossly incompetent person. But I may call him.
Takes
I
one
may
to know
call
one.
other people too. It's the utter lack of empathy from Donald Trump. I know there's a lot going on, and he's not bringing the country together. Joe Biden didn't bring the country together either. But my goodness, after something like this happens, you don't even call the governor, who would have made a terrible vice president if you ask me. But still, call the governor. You're the president of the United States. No.
Yeah, and I also, some things are really beyond politics, and it's just a horrific tragedy, and this poor couple, and it was clearly politically motivated by a psychopath, and
Right.
people that go on social media and blame one party or the other when you're a psychopath, someone who takes a gun and shoots a lawmaker is a psychopath. Period. So I
Dresses like a
agree that-
police officer.
Oh.
It knocks on the door type thing. Yeah.
And I agree with you that there are times and moments that leadership and, real compassion should come into play. And I agree with you that it's an absolutely missed opportunity. I don't agree with it, and I don't think that language is productive. I will also say, after Luigi Mangione shot the CEO of the major insurance company, health insurance company, I was horrified by the amount of people saying it was justified and saying, even like Taylor Lorenz, who used to be at the Washington Post, was calling him hot and saying that, he did what he had to do. We are now in a place where our culture is justifying murder for political reasons, which for me is a horrifying place to be. And it should be horrifying, by the way, for anyone who makes their living in commentary, which the three of us do, and anyone in politics, and it should horrify any American. But, I have people that I know that are, pretty high level commentators on cable news that are very freaked out right now. And I don't know where we're at when violence and murder against politicians is the answer in any way. And it's just you are a psychopath and it's lunacy, and I won't accept any other explanation.
Feels like it's getting worse. Maybe there was a
agree.
worse time in our nation's history. I don't know, but it feels like it's getting worse.
It totally feels like it's getting worse. I think. I agree.
Not to change the subject, but you were in D.C., I assume, over the weekend, yes or no?
Yes, and that
How was
parade
it?
screwed up my trip to Target.
Your trip to Target.
Yes, it was blocking everything.
I
It
mean,
was a
D.C.
mess.
traffic is already miserable. I can't imagine how bad it was.
The military
It was
parade.
miserable.
The military parade ruined your weekend, Megan?
It didn't ruin my weekend, but it just made traffic impossible. And then, not to make you guys laugh, but I was reading a book to my daughters right before bed, and all these helicopters and planes overhead, and I was like, "What the hell is this noise?"
They're storming the beaches of Normandy behind you.
I was like, what is happening? Like, it was so loud.
Yeah.
And it just like, this is not for me. Like, I'm like sort of like a, total fiscal conservative. Like, I think it's like a waste of resources. I was told that it was like pretty unimpressive, that they maybe should have had someone, design it or plan it that was, I don't know, someone who like does the Rose Bowl or something. So, a person who like has experience in throwing big events. And for whatever it's worth, it was also raining all weekend. So I'm sure that didn't help things. And I just think it was a stupid waste of time. I'm sorry. I think it's totally stupid waste of time.
Don't leave the money part.
If I was in D.C., I would have went to it. I want to see what my tax dollars are going to. I want to see the big tanks. I want to see the turret.
I heard it was hard to get in and out of. Like, logistically, it was like hard to go to because obviously all the security threats. So, but you can go, Gaydos, all day long. I'm fine.
I was disappointed we didn't get a report from you.
I tried to get Bruce to fly in with me, but he wouldn't do it. Yeah. What did you think of No King's Day? Was that a success?
I mean, I didn't obviously attend any of the protests, and there weren't any around where I live. I think, just like anyone on the other side of people in power, people want to feel, like they're doing something and they're making an impact. But there have been so many rallies over so many years, starting with the Women's March, that at the time, I remember at the Women's March being told that like I needed to support it because I'm a woman. And I was like, I don't know what they're doing and I don't know what they're asking for. Like, I don't know what this movement is about. And much like that, I'm like, but what are you asking for? I don't know if it had something to do with, the military parade or just like Trump's, overreach governing or whatever. I don't know. But I think that the problem with the left right now is that they really lacked one simple cohesive message. And No King's Day to me, like, I just didn't make a ton of sense to me messaging wise, but
I think it was more anti-Trump and then everything else they wanted to throw in.
I kind of disagree with that. I didn't find it anti-Trump.
Really?
No. I mean, there was
when they say no kings, who do you think they're talking about?
I understand that, but I think it was more about maybe democracy. And I know if you go down the road, well, Trump wants to be king and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was just more, well, I've got an American flag. I like this country. I didn't think it was a lot of hate. I didn't think it was mean-spirited.
There were some pretty ugly signs.
There were, but I thought I didn't think it was I didn't think it was all about hate. I don't want to see hate on either side. I just didn't find that about hate today or Saturday.
Well, they said between 3 and 5 million people showed up across the nation.
All right.
Did you attend?
No, I don't go to these things.
No, thank you.
I don't go to these things either, but I don't know if it's just because I'm like, jaded and
exactly.
But there were so many people that were doing it. There were a bunch of celebrities that were like clearly doing it for social media, and like, not that you guys care about this, but there's like a reality star that was canceled a few years ago for a pretty bad like incident where she like, it doesn't even matter, but it was racially motivated. Like, she did something that was very racist, and she was like attending that march, and my friends were like, oh, she's trying to like to clean up her reputation a little bit. And I think like there's just some people like the collectivism I'm never into. I'm like, but what are you trying to achieve? What bill do you want passed? Like, also start electing people. Like, Democratic Party's got real problems. Like, focus on candidates right now. So, but I guess people like a party.
Or just hang out in the street. Exactly.
Hey, Megan, we'll talk to you next Monday. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye.
Right. Mondays with Meghan McCain.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.